What tribe do you identify with?
The Cherokee, the Eastern Band of the Cherokee.
Are there any, what percentage are you?
That's a very loaded question. I know of at least a 16th, but it is more than that, and we're trying to figure that out right now. So the 16th comes from my mother's grandmother's side, and but we also recently found out that there's another probably another 16th to add to that, and it's kind of an additive percentage. So it's more than a 16th, but I know for sure the 16th.
So could you tell us why you may not be sure?
Well, let's see. It's because people don't like to keep records, and you know, being Indian wasn't something that that folks wanted a lot of people to know at the time in my side of the family. So in eastern or western part of North Carolina, where the Eastern Band of the Cherokee are, that group of Cherokee basically did not go on the Trail of Tears. They hid in the mountains when they were being moved, and so the best strategy basically was to try to assimilate with the culture and not let it be known, basically. So it was something that you know, it was for protection. I think there's also as more white Caucasian blood sort of filtered in, I think that people were also afraid or felt ashamed of being Indian, and so so records really aren't kept very well. So it's very tedious to go back through and trace all the family lines, because usually the women who are Indian do not we don't know last names originally, so it's hard to trace back. But you can, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of extra effort. So we know the 16th. We know I'm a 16th, but we also know it's more than that. But to exactly figure that out is hard.
Very interesting.
Are there any cultural practices or values or family practices that you know of?
Well, you know, it's really pretty funny because you know, as a child, it's something that I always knew, and I was always really proud of. And my parents were, you know, my mom. It's from my mom's side, of course, was very made a point to make sure that I knew of my background. But you know, I mean, growing up, I always knew that I was Indian, but I think it's probably only been maybe since I had children that I've really started to recognize some of the patterns in my own family that are maybe just more distinctively, you know, Indian. So things like which are common in other cultures too, but things like, you know, respect for the earth and animals and sort of the way of thinking about the relationship between, you know, people and the earth, and you know, those are kinds of things that are just really typical to me that I never really thought about as necessarily being Indian or not. But as I learn more and read more and learn, you know, it's like, oh, of course, you know, this is what we always did. You know, we always followed this practice, and so yeah.
What is the life of a modern day Cherokee like? Do you know anything about?
Well, I haven't been to the Cherokee Reservation in North Carolina for quite some time. It's on my list of things to do again. I think the Cherokee, in my understanding, tend to be pretty assimilated, but I haven't been to the reservation in a long time, so I need to do that.
So you have been before?
I have been before, yes.
Very cool.
Yes. When I was a child, my mom took us.
Okay.
We went and visited, and I had Indian dolls, and I feel really sad that I don't have them now. And but my daughter, now that I have a daughter and a son, of course, because you know they would be the same, but they're very interested, and so that's something that we'll probably do in the very near future. But my impression is that it's maybe a bit better off than some of the other reservations. I've been on other reservations as well for the Lakota and the Sioux, and then my family and I, we took a trip this summer out west, and so we were able to drive through some of the reservations and take a look at things. And
We've been out there.
yeah,
Yes, they're really neat to see.
yeah, it is really neat to see. There's also quite a bit of sadness too related to
Yeah.
sort of just the plight of Native Americans in general. Some groups have been a bit more fortunate than others, but it was interesting when we did travel west. We did go through Oklahoma, and then so the Cherokee Nation that was involved with the Trail of Tears is located in Oklahoma, and so we kind of went through that area, the kids and I and Joel, and that was really interesting to see. I didn't have a chance to do much, but just to drive through. But it's a very different kind of location than sort of the eastern band of the Cherokee. And now they acknowledge each other too. There was even a bit of a sort of a rift between the eastern band and the main Cherokee band that went on the Trail of Tears. So I mean, everybody's kind of happy and recognized now, but yeah, it's been sort of an interesting observation. Yeah.
Do you know how disabilities are viewed in the Cherokee?
I don't think that I don't think that in a formal sense I could give you an idea. I mean, I can tell you, how I view disabilities, but I think that there's probably a wide variety of acceptances, and maybe that's something that I wouldn't want to comment on. I don't think that would give the clearest picture, perhaps.
So when working with a client that has a Cherokee background, do you know if there's any certain values or customs that need to be kept in mind?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that just appreciation for and honoring sort of our place in the world and the earth, and just being really thankful for things. I don't know. That's kind of it's a hard thing to put a label on, really, but it's just sort of an overall sense of sort of harmony between people and the earth, basically. And I don't know that's that you would go against that in a therapy session, but that's a pretty important aspect.
Yeah. So since we're working on the language aspect as SLPs, do you know anything about the Cherokee language?
I do know some about the Cherokee language. It's a syllable-based language, and it's a language that is still active, and you can find segments on YouTube. There are tutorials on the Cherokee language, and there's quite an advanced website too with the Cherokee Nation. So it is a fairly easy language, I think, to pronounce. And it is still alive, and there are really fun songs and things that you can listen to, and we play at night for bedtime. But I don't speak it. Yeah, but it is a syllable-based language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you already got that linguistic characteristics. Is there any social protocols or religious traditions or recreational activities that you know of?
I think in terms of religious, Cherokee people, as in all people, sort of have a variety of sort of ways to think about, God or a creator. And I think that the Cherokee understanding of sort of creation as a whole fits really nicely with, or fits well, I think, with sort of a more Anglo-Saxon interpretation of God, perhaps. So it to me it coincides nicely, it's just a matter of, you know, what you want to think of as in terms of being like the creator, you know.
Mhm.
So, and there are, you know, sort of sacred directions and that kind of thing that people get into, and colors and.
So sorry, I have